Hello and welcome back to the Academy of the Magical Art. This is part 9 of our series, Signs of the Zodiac, where we will be talking about the sign of a Sagittarius. A little bit late, I know, better late than never. Like I said, we're going to be putting out a lot of new information here, continuation, polishing up of the Signs of the Zodiac series, as well as expanding upon it by moving into different relations that the planets can have with each other, speaking about all of the aspects that can take place in the individual houses when signs and planets are in certain houses, and how that's significant. So to jump right into this information here, Sagittarius is the 9th astrological sign. This is associated with a centaur. Sagittarius is a centaur, and the centaur was the mentor of Achilles. Now, his pronunciation is different depending on where you look. It is spelled Chiron, so Charon or Chiron. And he was said to be a very wise centaur, the wisest and the justest among his brethren. He was really noted as having a nurturing nature. So it's no coincidence that, according to Greek lore, Achilles was placed under him as a pupil to learn from him. So he is the symbol of the archer. His duration is from November 22nd to December 21st. The element associated with Sagittarius is that of fire. The quality is mutable. So Jupiter's ruler is Sagittarius, Mercury's detriment is Sagittarius, Neptune is exalted in Sagittarius, and the North Node falls in Sagittarius. So a little bit about individuals who have their sun sign in Sagittarius. These individuals are considered to be truth seekers. And oftentimes they do this through wandering and travel. They like to experience and take in information. Knowledge is very, very valuable to individuals with their sun sign in Sagittarius, because they have such a broad mind and such a active mind, that it's a really, really good way to keep the mind busy, giving things for it to ingest or ponder upon. So Sagittarius sun signs are constantly looking for deeper meaning, and doing this by experiencing and the tantalizing feelings of life. You know, centaurs were considered to be very, very much intellectual creatures in mythology. They were record keepers and knowledge keepers. So we know that a sign's mythological representation definitely does give us a lot of detail and insight into the sign itself. Those who have their projected personality or their sun in Sagittarius can be described as taking on a lot of these qualities. So we have people that are really big thinkers and collectors of the pearls of wisdom that life has to offer. You know, being that Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, Jupiter is the king of the gods. He is the great expander. So there is a bit of a royal streak to Sagittarians. They feel the kingly or queenly royal nature within them. So of course they're going to want to have the wide reach and wide experiences that life has to offer. And that is really a natural pull or natural compulsion for these individuals. You know, keeping in mind that Sagittarius is associated with the element of fire. You know, the nature of fire is that to move quickly, and it's a little bit more volatile. So our fire signs in general are a little bit more on the quick-moving, volatile side, where they're constantly trying to move to the next thing. They're very action-oriented individuals, very adventure-oriented individuals. Lots of stamina, lots of movement and motion is really a good thing for any fire native elements. Now, your moon sign being representative of your subconscious, emotional, hidden aspects. Um, when we move into discussion about the conscious and the subconscious, how the mind works, at least the way that I've learned and have been taught, um, my primary profession being a hypnotherapist, this is something that I really do want to discuss with you individuals, as well as furthering some education on hypnotherapy. When you do this, when you tap into your subconscious, you are tapping into your moon sign. So there are individuals that have a very cohesive nature between their sun sign and their moon sign. For instance, my sun sign is in Aquarius and my moon sign is in Aquarius. So I am a very Aquarian individual because of that. However, in some cases, you'll have individuals with their sun sign in Sagittarius and their moon sign in Cancer. Now, the conscious mind operates about 12% of our mental faculty, and our subconscious mind operates about 88% of our mental faculty. So let me ask you, when looking at a person's, especially your own individual astrology and your natal charts, um, understanding that the sun is important, understand that the moon is also very, very important, because 97% of our behavior is dictated by our subconscious mind, 88% of our mind and our mental faculty being made up of the unconscious. Spend a lot of time learning and understanding your moon sign as well, as it is very important. And a moon or lunar Sagittarius um, are very, very optimistic and expansive. Uh, they are very acute and attuned to passions and emotional ideals, applying logical conscious wisdom and knowledge to the emotional wisdom and knowledge, your EQ. So these individuals will have these subconscious drives to constantly be absorbing more and travel and roam and experience, being the wanderer that Sagittarius is. Um, Individuals could consider this having the heart of a gypsy. People with a Sagittarius moon sign. That they have the longing to experience all that life has to offer. Because really that's how you're going to keep the subconscious mind busy too, is by taking in that information and building associations and really forming your lens of reality based off of the information that's taken in. There will be an absolute love for learning, just like a Sagittarius sun sign. Um, but you're going to see that these individuals are very expressive. They have a little bit of a flair to them that's kind of hard to miss. And with the regal nature that we have already discussed, and that high amount of flair, you may see a tendency to try to overcompensate and a desire to be right a lot of the time, having the way that they view things affirmed, and suggesting that they are wrong or incorrect in any faculties can be taken as being very offensive because they do take so much pride in their knowledge. Now, on the other side of the coin, there are individuals that are very, very open to discussion, and they understand the value of growing through opposition and difference in opinion, because really it's those oppositions and differences in individual opinions that create a larger scope of the big picture. So that can really go both ways. However, when dealing with an individual who has a Sagittarian moon, be careful when having conversation and debate with them, because although you may be logically telling them, hey, that there might be another way to looking at this, and I'm not necessarily saying that you're wrong or that you're right, I'm saying that my opinion is different, you could legitimately be intellectually insulting them if they hear it the wrong way. So Mercury is our communicator and really the planet that influences a lot of learning and language and things of this nature. So with a Mercury Sagittarius, it is not necessarily the little details of the picture, but how much of the picture they can see. The length of the distance and the length of the shot, how far away is the target. They're not going to look at every inch of airspace in between them and the target. They're just going to draw their bow back and fire. They are very, very long distance and big picture thinkers. You're going to look at their thirst and drive and desire for knowledge and really take it up a couple more notches, because that is what Mercury is. And it's the factor of the ability to be a critical thinker and have them really logicize and decipher through things in their own way and in their own time. That strengthens and motivates them. Definitely do not try to box in the logic or the thought of an individual with a Mercury and Sagittarius, or do not try to box in the thoughts or opinions of the Sagittarian Mercury sign. It is against their nature to have somebody else define how they think, and it is much better to show them what you think and give them the freedom to form their own opinions. Understanding that if what you think holds true, positive logic, that they will adopt it as their own, and if they are thinking about it from a different angle and it clashes with their own personal belief and paradigm, they may not, which in actuality can give you something to ponder and consider about. There can be great value in that difference. Organization and detailed-oriented thinking will not be the strong suit of individuals with this placement. It is very, very tedious and monotonous, and becomes almost a waste of time. So having somebody else who is well organized in the lives of these individuals that can help them with that is invaluable. And their communications will be, their speaking style and communication style will be very blunt and to the point. It's a waste of time to hem and haw and teeter and totter on decisions. Just pull back the arrow and let fire, rather than dinking around in the meantime. So these individuals are very, very social, and they like to talk and they like to listen, because that is part of the experience of life. Their communication is very direct, and there's not a lot of beating around the bush to be expected at all. And there shouldn't be a lot of beating around the bush to be expected in any way, shape, or form. So an individual with their Venus resting in Sagittarius will look for a partner that is going to stimulate them intellectually. Because of their nature to always want to learn and grow their conscious intellectual faculty, they will naturally seek out a spouse that's going to really exercise that within them and help that to grow. Harmonization in beliefs and goals and visions are very, very important to the Sagittarius. There are certain placements that are okay with having differences and polarizations in a relationship, and there are placements that are not okay with that. Sagittarius is definitely one of the ones that struggles a little bit more with that. And also the thing to be careful of with a person with their Venus in Sagittarius is that they do not get too bound down, that they're not with a spouse that is going to try to restrict them. A Venus Sagittarian says, "Take my hand and travel and see the world with me. Let's grow together." But when they have a spouse that says, "I want to sit at home and I expect you to do the same thing," you're going to really notice clashing with that, and eventually they will leave the home and hope that you come with them, but be okay if you don't. And that would be on a temporary or permanent level. Eventually they will leave the relationship as well, because they just can't be tied down to anything. It's totally against their nature. Space and freedom are really some big keywords with Sagittarius in general, but especially a person with Venus in Sagittarius. Give them the freedom to move through their emotions, as you may see some swings because they are a fire element, and it's very, very passionate. So if they're passionately loving, they're passionately loving, and if they're angry, they're passionately angry. So that's okay. That's just who they are. Better to have passion and flair than dullness and boredom, in many people's opinions. And if that is one of you, then a person with their Venus in Sagittarius would be a very good match. You know, let them have a lot of entertainment, a lot of variety, a lot of spice in life. And if you are looking for the same thing, these would be very good individuals for you to find yourself settling with. A person with their Mars in Sagittarius. So Mars is a very, very forward-moving, active planet, and a very, very fiery planet within itself already. When you add that energy to Sagittarius, you see exaggeration of that. So these are people that aren't very patient. They're always wanting to go, go, go. They may be a little bit restless. They are certainly more fiery than most. And they really, really like to be kept very, very busy. Physical activity and mental activity is very, very important. Don't be surprised if you find yourself, if you have this placement as a person with 20 to 30 projects going at one time, just because that kind of stimulation is healthy for you. You know, it's these individuals will love the debate and love the argument. They're one of those people that learns through that process, like we previously discussed. They don't necessarily like it when people challenge them, but they certainly enjoy challenging other people. These are individuals, unless you are a fast, high-paced moving person yourself, that will be a little bit difficult to keep up with, just because that energy level is so high and they're moving at such a fast, strong pace. You know, these are fun individuals. However, tying them down to one thing may prove a little bit more than difficult. As far as interpersonal relationships go, unless they are truly, truly devoted and committed 100%, there may be a tendency for some infidelity, just because of the chase and the fun of the chase and the date. But once that conquest has been made, the chase is over, so it's time for the next chase. So you can see that happen. So they just don't like to feel restrained by commitment. They would rather be chasing something new all the time until they are ready to sit down and settle down and make that choice. These are very sexual people as well. You know, Sagittarius is a very sexual sign. So they need somebody that's going to intellectually stimulate them, physically stimulate them, sexually stimulate them. And that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy to match this kind of energy. So Jupiter and Sagittarius, these people are lucky so long as they're willing to keep the flow going. It's all about paying it back forward and relaunching the arrow over and over and over again. They are serious. They are ready to commit to what they say they're going to commit to. They practice what they preach. Individuals with this placement are just very oftentimes awesome individuals. They have a lot of natural enthusiasm. They love to share what they have, share what they have accumulated, you know, physically, monetarily, intellectually, any way that they can, because they understand that that is how they keep that flow going. You know, these are the individuals where their own opinions and perceptions are important to them, but they're ready to see more sides of the big picture. They want somebody to show them the way that they believe if there is a difference, just as long as it's brought forth and approached in a respectful way. You know, these again are going to be travelers. They're going to be broadening their mind as much as they can. They're also going to have the high sex drive. They appreciate a lot of religion, a lot of philosophy. This is really their niche. in life is to be growing the universal unconscious and tapping into it more and learning and attaining as much as they can. So when we see an individual with a Saturn in Sagittarius, the Saturn being the malefactor or the constrictor, these individuals take their studies, their philosophy, their thought to a serious level. It is more disciplined, um, more structured, more organized. They believe that people will earn their achievements through hard work and understand life through that lens. Their reputation, the way they are seen in the eyes of individuals around them, is very important to them. They may not have even been able to obtain their desired educational level because it is better for them to be self-taught. Oftentimes in today's age, our education system is very critical. If you don't learn in their way, you are wrong or retarded. If a child challenges what a teacher says or a dogma or practice that they're trying to relay, they get sent to the principal's office very often. I've actually seen this with my own teenagers. One of them in 10th or 11th grade questioned the history teacher on some of the history that they were being taught, knowing that they had facts and evidence that contradicted what this teacher was telling them. And they were chastised publicly for it from the class and sent to the principal's office. It's not acceptable, but it's life. So a Saturnarian Sagittarius is going to be very conservative. They are going to be more inside of the bounds that most of society feels comfortable with because of the being judged thing. And they're going to be more constricted with their thoughts on philosophy or religion most of the time. When I speak in definitives, it's under the same presupposition as one could say humans have 2 arms and 2 legs, but you can always find a human with 1 arm and 2 legs, and you can always find a human with 2 arms and 1 leg. There are always exceptions to the rule. So keep an open mind when listening to this stuff, because when you see a person with their Saturn in Sagittarius and they are very independently restricted thinkers, but they might have their, let's say, their Neptune or their Uranus in Pisces. That's going to throw a completely different gear. That's going to throw a completely different wrench in the gear. Trust is an issue with Saturnarian Sagittarians. They have to learn how to trust. They need to be, I don't want to say coerced, but taught and led and shown with each individual relationship that trust is okay. These individuals may suffer physical difficulties with muscles, especially hips and sciatica, lower body issues. So when we see Uranus in Sagittarius, these individuals will have strong intuition. It's one of the planetary placements that just comes with a gift with visions, precognitive dreams, more openness to the subconscious and the unconscious. These are gifts that can be exercised and strengthened, utilized more and more. And they actually may be attracted to practice some of the more esoteric arts and sciences. This is going to be a placement where you're going to see some of the more eccentric and erratic behavior, like what we said previously with a Neptune Pisces. It's holding their own beliefs and being very independent, but being very open and free to expand and grow in those beliefs. The same love for science and philosophy and knowledge and wisdom is going to be there, but they are more of the other side of the coin. Let's keep on top of the new stuff. Let's constantly expand. Let's push our limits. Let's see what we can do next. It's the freedom that entices them once again. But these individuals, instead of running and rebelling against rigidity and structure, they understand it and they'll embrace it to a degree. They just may not particularly enjoy it. So now, an individual with Neptune and Sagittarius, again, you're going to see these intuitive psychic talents coming out in big ways. They are actively trying to expand their senses, expand in their spirit through experience. Their growth and their potential really doesn't know a limit other than if they set one for themselves or they're programmed to believe that they have one. These are idealistic individuals that are very humanitarian and help humanity, help the earth, help things that are alive oriented. They are going to love travel and religion and politics and bringing authentic joy to people's lives. So because of the intuitive and psychic abilities with these placements, when the mind drifts to negative places, when it goes into the fears, the nightmares, the what-ifs, what's happenings, you'll see that largely affect them as well, because it becomes very vivid in their mind. That vivacy of these visions rock them to the core because of the mind-body connection that they experience. So to learn to refine and control the mind, especially for these individuals, Neptune Sagittarians, is very important. Now, Pluto and Sagittarius. We just actually saw this placement not too long ago. This placement belongs to Generation Z, 1995 to 2008. Individuals that are born with Pluto and Sagittarius, they're all about transformation. They're all about taking that next step. They understand how transformation has to take place. This is a Sagittarius thing, with the desire to travel and learn through travel. However, with most placements, it's I want to grow what I have. When you see Pluto and Sagittarius, it's I want to metamorphosize. I want to go in the cocoon and then come out something completely different, rather than just changing what's already there. They have to be free to express and experience. As soon as it becomes tampered, they get a little bit touchy and a little bit angry. I know a couple of individuals with this placement, and that is indeed true. These individuals in particular, you're going to see, I believe they're anywhere from 9 to 22 years of age. So we're just starting to see this generation emerge into adulthood for about 3 years, maybe 4 for some. It's going to be a really interesting time watching what these Pluto Sagittarians do. We're already seeing incredible things coming out of the youth, coming out of the people in this generation. They have very interesting minds and they're very innovative, and they're going to leave a mark on the world, a positive one, I believe. Just as long as we don't try to water that down and restrict them in any way, shape, or form. Now, these individuals may have a tendency to act a little bit foolishly. They put the cart before the horse, don't necessarily think things through, a little bit impulsive. So there's a natural tendency to try to justify these behaviors because they are their own worst critics. So I really want to recommend, my youngest child actually is a Sagittarian, or a Pluto Sagittarian native, so that I actually live with an individual that is like that, and this is indeed true. They will always justify something that they feel is wrong because they do not like to judge themselves, because when they do, it's very, very hard. They're very hard on themselves. Again, I believe that these individuals are anywhere from 9 years old to 22 years old right now. So do a little bit of your own study on the Pluto Sagittarius, especially if you have kids in that age range. and learned them because they're here and they're right now, and they're going to leave a mark on what we have around us and what we are leaving behind to them and to our grandchildren after them. So I want to thank you for joining with me again today at the Academy of the Magical Art, and until next time, blessed be.